Anna Aslin, welcome to the Anatomy and Clay Learning System podcast.
Thank you.
Great to spend some time with you. I appreciate your making that time. Yeah. So could you just start out by setting the scene for us? Just tell us where you teach.
Yeah, so I teach at Vista Peak Preparatory in Aurora, Colorado.
And that's part of the whole Aurora public school system, correct?
Yes.
Fairly large system.
Yes, very diverse. One of the largest school districts in the state.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How many students go there roughly, just to give us an idea? To Vista
I think
Peak?
we have about 1,600 total students.
In grades?
9 through 12 at the preparatory. We do have a P20 campus here. The elementary and middle schools in a different building just across the fields over there.
The idea is preschool all the way through college, or
Yeah.
a couple of years of college. Yeah. Wow. So how long have you been teaching at Vista Peak?
This is my 8th year teaching here. I started teaching biology and chemistry and then moved into teaching our Biomedical Sciences Pathway. And we teach the PLTW Biomedical Sciences curriculum.
Project Lead the Way, right?
Project Lead the Way, right.
Right. So how many years of doing the biomedical sciences for you?
I think this is my 5th year doing the biomedical sciences.
Yeah, great. Can you just give us an idea of your own background before coming into teaching? Had you taught at another school, I guess is my question.
So I had taught at one other school, at a middle school in Wheat Ridge, and it was a perfect storm of all disasters. It was my first year teaching, and the school was closing. It was like a whole other situation. And then I came here for my 2nd year, and I've been here since.
Gotcha. Where did you go to college?
I graduated with both my bachelor's and master's from CU Denver. So I got my bachelor's degree in biology, Bachelor of Science in Biology, and then my master's in education. I believe it's called like teaching in diverse contexts, or teaching in curriculum in diverse contexts.
Are you from Colorado originally then?
Yep, I grew up in Castle Rock and just kind of stayed around.
Yeah, that's great. Were you always sort of interested in science?
Yeah. As a high schooler, I knew that I liked science and was good at science and math, but I never really had any interest. And I kind of went into college with the idea that I would do something sciencey. And I thought maybe engineering, hopped right out of there real quick. And then tried biology, and I really liked it. Thought maybe I'd do the med school thing, but never really had enough drive, I don't think, to really get myself to med school. It kind of was just like sure, I'll do it, rather than like, I want to do it. So it just wasn't enough to get me through. And I met a professor who I really enjoyed, and I took a few of his classes, and he helped me get a scholarship from Noyce for teaching in high-risk, low-income schools. And so I was like, sure, we'll try teaching. And so I just kind of, I had to commit to teaching for 5 years. And I think a Title I school for 5 years. And I kind of was like, sure, like I'll do anything. I can do anything for 5 years. And then if I don't like it, I can get out. But it's like the perfect place for me. This is definitely where I should have been. So I'm really thankful for that professor to like lead me to teaching.
What was it that he said or did, or what do you remember what the?
I remember thinking like, I need letters of recommendation to get into med school. I knew that I needed that. And so I was like, what I need to do is go get to know a professor, because I was at a bigger school. I was used to being in lecture rooms where I was like one of 300. Nobody knew me. I wasn't going to be able to get a letter of recommendation. So I took a smaller class, and he was into like plant genetics. And I was like, I purposefully went to his office hours often just to try and like talk to him and build a relationship so I could get that letter. And I just kept taking classes with him, and I just got along really well. and he was one of the I don't know, like directors for this scholarship program, and he just kind of like recommended it to me and encouraged me to just look at it. Other than that, like, he didn't push too hard, which I was thankful for. And really, I just was thankful for the financial opportunity to start. I wasn't really sure if it was right for me to start, even with his encouragement.
Right. Wow. How soon into your teaching career did you realize, or once you were at Vista Peak, I assume, because it sounded like that first year was not so good, but once you were at Vista Peak, when did it click that this is going to be something you'll really take to? Right away?
No, the first few years of teaching is just so hard. It's just like constantly I was like wondering if it was right for me, but I had to stay. I really wasn't thinking about leaving because of this financial commitment that I made. And ultimately, unfortunately, this is like a common like teachers lounge conversation, right? Like, what else are we going to do? This job is really hard and sometimes it really sucks. So what else can we do? And throughout all those conversations, there was just nothing for me. And
Yeah.
I think that a lot, like COVID did a lot for me, because I thought I would have loved a work from home or remote position where I was by myself most of the time. And it just like tore me apart to like be at home and to have very minimal like surface level interaction with students. So I just really learned that like the face-to-face interaction with students is absolutely what I need. And I love, as a teacher, I have so much creative freedom, especially in these like honors elective classes. I don't have a lot of district oversight, and so I just have so much creative freedom. And I'm not sure what more I could ask for, honestly, other than more money, but like I can, get around that. That's like, I can deal with that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what you're teaching. What kinds of courses are you teaching this year, for instance?
So and my classes have stayed the same for the PLTW classes the whole time I've taught, and the way that our numbers work out, it'll likely always stay the same for me. So I teach human body systems, which is the sophomore level class. And that's the one that we use the anatomy and clay system for. And then I also teach the junior level class, which is medical interventions.
And does the anatomy and clay get used in the junior class, the medical interventions? No, just the human body system.
Yeah, no, I try and bring in like the clay specifically to like make models of different processes that we're looking at, but in terms of the mannequins, no, I don't use any of those.
Yeah. How long ago did you start using the mannequins and the whole system in the human body systems class?
So I inherited everything 5 years ago when I moved into these classes. And so I've been using them from day one.
And you hadn't seen the system before you came?
Nope.
What was your initial impression? What'd you think?
I love it. I'm an artist, and so I just love like combining the art and science, and like and actually the longer I teach with them, I think the more thankful I am for them, and the more I think valuable they are to my classroom. So I think at the beginning, it kind of was like another thing I had to learn how to teach with and somehow fit into a really packed year. And now I just can see the value in the time that it takes.
Yeah. I'm curious, what kind of art do you do? What's your medium?
I don't really, kind of just everything. I'm kind of just like, and searching for any types of creative outlets. I kind of like go through my phases. I really am into painting though, and drawing. I always come back to that.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So how do your students react when I assume they know coming in human body systems, they probably see what's being used in the classroom. Maybe they know ahead of time, but what's their reaction to being shown the system and being shown how they're going to use it in the learning process?
I think that when they come into my class, they're pretty excited because they'll see images like on social media, and they know like as the second year you get these cool mannequins that we get to build all the systems with. And I think at the start, they're really intimidated because unfortunately people are like, oh, I can't do art type thing, right? And I'm like, well, no, we can. And so often I feel like I do have to build their confidence and show them how to build these structures and how we can model these body systems with the clay. And then we always make it fun by giving them little personalities. We do like the birth certificates where they get to choose the names. And, I make them take selfies with them. And so we like add that personal touch too, which I think adds to it. And then they get so excited and they're like, we're going to go get our baby Billy or whatever they named it, right? And so it kind of gets exciting every time. And I can tell that they really want to make it look nice and they want to build the organs correctly. And so sometimes that leads to them being hesitant because they want to make it good, And so just going back to sometimes I have to help build their confidence and how to work with these different materials.
Yeah. Do you then give them some leeway? I mean, you tell them that it doesn't have to be perfect, or how do you approach that?
Yeah, I feel like it's a whole process where I'm kind of highlighting how your temporalis muscle can look different than mine. And because if you look at two human bodies, we all look different. So these little differences between the clay totally make sense. And I get strict on things like, we can't just have these big, clunky, bumpy muscles on these mannequins because that's not what yours looks like, but the little individual differences. And then we can line them up. And once we do the facial muscles, you guys all built the same muscles, but look how different they all look. And we really hopefully highlight and celebrate those differences.
Do you have enough mannequins that every student gets their own, or are they sharing? You have enough?
Yeah, I don't have the number on the top of my head. It's probably 70 to 80 that I have. I just think, I just inherited a full system. And then every time our numbers grow, I usually put it on our Perkins grant to just get a few more. So, because it's so valuable to have one for every kid.
Yeah. Wow. You must have a pretty large lab or classroom then?
Kind of, and they do take up quite a bit of counter space.
Yeah.
So I have 3 full classes that use them, and each one are 20 to 25 students. And so I do have 3 sections of my counter that are completely used. And so it's kind of a bummer that it takes up that counter space, but it's kind of like a decoration for my room. And we just I try and use it as often as I can. And it's just worth it, the space it takes up. I do think my room's pretty big though.
Yeah, that's great. When you the preparatory part of this, can you tell where your students are thinking? What are they thinking ahead? Are they thinking of a science career or something medical, or is it too early? And when you're teaching a sophomore level human body systems class to really know?
I think it's way too early to know.
Yeah.
Even the juniors, in my program, it's honor students who are purposely choosing the biomedical sciences classes. So I do feel like I have a larger proportion of students who definitely know what they want to do and want to go into healthcare and want to go into college. But I know that there's a large amount of even those who end up not going through with all of that and choosing a different path.
Yeah.
I really don't put any weight in those conversations. Kind of like how I was had no direction. I just refer to my own situation so often. And I ended up where I need to go. So let's not put too much focus on, stressing about which step you could take next.
Yeah. What about the Project Lead the Way curriculum? Give us your thoughts on that and how that supports what you do.
It's so that's the foundation of our entire pathway. We just keep the 4 classes in their order, and that's our pathway for the students. I think the curriculum just does a really great job of applying content in specific things like case studies and patient case reports and stuff like that. That is so valuable for kids to imagine, in the for the endocrine system, the students just had to diagnose a patient with a pituitary tumor. I didn't tell them that. I just give them the symptoms. And so it's kind of their job to go figure out what it is. And while they all want to just Google it real fast, like put out lists of symptoms into Google, then we all have to like take a step back and it's like, well, cool, you found a disease that matches your list of symptoms. But I think Project Lead the Way does a great job of like providing a framework to be like, okay, but now let's really figure out what's going on in the body. It doesn't matter what Google or WebMD says, like we can now really use our background knowledge to explain why all these things are happening to them.
Gotcha. Do you network with other Project Lead the Way teachers?
Kind of.
Yeah.
So I have another teacher here at Vista Peak that does the other two biomed classes, and then we do have a set of STEM teachers doing PLTW. And then there's another school in Aurora that I think we work pretty closely with occasionally. But other than that, I'm kind of by myself.
Yeah. I was just wondering. Yeah. How did you learn anatomy? Do you wish you'd had something like anatomy in clay when you were learning anatomy?
Oh my gosh, yes, that would be so fun. I took anatomy and physiology in college because I thought I was going to go to med school.
Yeah.
And so I had like a cadaver lab, and man, I tell these kids all the time, like that was the one class where I finally realized that I had no idea how to study. And I really had to like buckle down and figure out how to just like straight up memorize a lot.
And did you memorize a lot? Obviously you made it through.
I mean, yes. I mean, I hate to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty good at memorizing things. And I did do very well in the class. And I do feel like, even though that was like, 15 years ago that I did that, I do feel like I remember a big chunk of that, and can provide, students, help them see where I was at and what I was thinking, some of the strategies that worked for me.
Yeah. Do you get a good sense that using anatomy and clay that the students retain the information that they're learning as they go?
I think it helps. I don't think that it's like the only tool to use when memorizing things. I do think that it is definitely like a piece of the puzzle that puts it all together. I do think that because I was looking at my anatomy notes even from college, and it was just basically like lists of structures on paper. And it's just like, even the anatomy atlases with images, all these 2D images provide only so much for these kids. And so to see it in a 3D and look at how they're actually like interacting with other structures, I do think that it helps a lot.
Yeah. Very good. Well, anything major that is going to be changing? It sounds like you've got a pretty good routine going with your classes.
Yeah. No, so the human body systems curriculum's changing for next year. And so I'm kind of on standby waiting to see what that looks like. I know that all the units are going to be in a different order. For me, no big changes. I did get a really fancy new tool this week or last week. I got an anatomage table.
Oh yeah.
So now I get the next challenge for me is figuring out how to implement that into this curriculum.
Right. Those are incredible.
Yeah,
amazing. And so you might be in a very multimodal kind of approach here in terms of learning, and maybe some students take to one and some students take to another.
Exactly. Perhaps. I expect to have those same observations.
Yeah. Very good. Well, Hannah, this has been a great rundown. I just appreciate the opportunity to check in and hear how you use the system in your classroom and school, and wish you luck down the road as you go on in your career. And thank you for your time today.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much.